Hello and greetings. Welcome to Ghost Chat and Other Paranormal Things. I'm one of your hosts, Electric Elisa.
And I'm your other host, Jody.
And today we have
a special guest in the studio.
Yes. Go ahead.
Brenda Mason from Kansas Paranormal Research Society.
Yes. And we are excited to hear from you today and get your experiences, and because you've had a lot.
Yeah, I started making notes last night. And that's just one place that I made notes on. So,
wow.
Yeah. And our equipment. And because I had no idea what you guys were going to hit me with.
Nothing scary, so to speak. Don't worry.
So, we've got a Kansas calendar, and we've got a title on the top of it, and it's in a frame, and it's called Places We've Been So Far.
Nice.
And we've got like little thumbtacks, colored thumbtacks in it.
Oh, neat. Yeah.
So, yeah, because we've been to Iowa and Illinois and Missouri and umpteen million places in Kansas. One year, I used to have 24 people on my team. We were the largest team in the state. And the reason being, we were getting so many calls that my small team could not handle it anymore. We had to take on more people. I had to double my equipment and be able to send 2 teams out on the same night to 2 different places. Because one year we did 52 investigations, and we took November and December off.
I bet.
Wow, that's a lot.
It was a lot. It burned us out. It really burned us out that year, and we didn't do that anymore. My case manager, Devin Tucking, she came up with a new a new client interview form, and it's about 7 pages long, and we interview people and go through that form, and that kind of weeds a lot of the bonkers out.
Yeah,
per se.
You have to.
Because you can tell when they're being honest and when they're not, because we usually do those interviews in person, if not over the phone. And, and a lot of times they're honest. All right, do you use drugs? Yeah, I use drugs. Well, that's a strike against you.
Yeah.
And do you watch paranormal TV shows? Yeah, I watch them all. Okay. That's a deal breaker for us. Because their complaint is what's going on the paranormal shows. Mm-hmm. And so we've just gotten really picky.
Yeah.
About who we take on as a client. And so it's paid off really well. So
yeah, because I would imagine, and that's too, I mean, we are now taking like personal stories from people, they're writing them in, and you kind of have to do the same. Like,
yeah.
Is this a little too far-fetched?
Yeah, exactly. Because when people start telling stories, I mean, I've had people tell us stories about the cemetery in I'm losing track of the haunted cemetery in Kansas.
Oh, are you talking about Stull?
Stoll
Oh,
Oh
Cemetery.
yeah.
Yeah. And this guy came up to us and he said, my brother and I were out there and the church was there, and I went down the stairs and I walked around for a while, and I came back up for a few minutes, and I came back up, and my brother had the police there and they were looking everywhere for me, and I had been gone for 4 hours.
Wow.
And I'm
what
like,
stairs?
and I'm like,
Stairs.
I've been there. There
There's
are
a
no
hill.
stairs.
No, there are
and
no stairs.
It's just a rock building
Yeah.
that's falling apart.
I think,
And
did they get rid of it finally?
yes, they did. It's gone.
That's what I
Yeah.
thought.
And they re-fenced. The whole place is chain link fenced in.
Yeah.
And they don't even have the Stoll sign up anymore. It's
No, I don't blame
it's not
them.
even up.
I actually did a story on that whole urban legend when I was in high school, because I worked for the paper back then, for the high school paper. And I interviewed a bunch of people, and I've been out there, a long time ago, way before, and I didn't get any feeling from it. And then there was a lady who knew about the original Stoll Cemetery. It's down further, it's much further down, and it's up on a hill.
Emmanuel
And
Hill.
that one, there's something.
They call it.
Now,
But
They call it
went out there.
Emmanuel
Emmanuel.
Hill.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
I
up on
went
a huge
out-
hill with a real creepy ass tree. Sorry about the language. A real
Tree.
creepy tree
Yeah.
on the hill.
I-
That one.
Yeah.
That
I
one you
went
could
out there with some friends from high school,
Yes.
and we were into photography. We
Yeah,
were in a photography class, and we went out there just to make pictures. And I got some really awesome pictures of the sun coming through that tree. And
Oh, I bet.
I put a filter lens on, and it filtered the sun
Wow.
coming through the tree. It was a beautiful picture. And if I can't find it to this day. I don't know where it's at. Who knows?
Aw.
That was
Yeah.
a long time ago. long time ago.
And I had a weird experience there, and it was in high school. I went with another friend of mine, and we were up there. We were just looking around, and all of a sudden, because it's not a very big area, it's not.
Right.
And we looked down, and there's like a bag of clown makeup.
Okay.
What in the heck?
She took it, but I
Oh
was like,
my
well,
God.
I'm like, you go ahead. I don't want that.
So somebody was gonna dress up as a clown and go around and scare people.
I guess.
Maybe. But it's
yeah.
weird.
That was just weird. That was super weird to see that. That would have. I think I would have left after that. And if I had seen a clown, I definitely would have took off.
Yeah.
What was interesting about it was how old the tombstones that you could see,
I was just
how
going to say
old
that.
those were.
I was totally going to say that.
Yeah.
I love to look at old tombstones and take pictures of them and put the paper on and, do the sketching, do the etchings.
Oh, yeah. That's
Oh,
cool.
yeah.
So you can get, you put paper on and take a pencil and go over it, and then you can read what they say. Because, you really can't read them, but if you do that, you can read them.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
That tree, though, I went up to the tree and touched it. I swear I felt like an electrical spark.
Energy.
I swear I felt something like a sting. Maybe it was a bug. Could have been a bug. But I felt like an electrical sting when I touched that tree on Emmanuel Hill.
It probably wasn't a bug.
I don't know.
I doubt it. I doubt that it was a bug.
Yeah.
It it was probably something else. It
Might
was
have been.
energy. It was just energy. So,
Yeah.
what do you want to know about from
Well,
from me as far as my team or things we've done or?
well, I know that you mentioned that Abilene was
Mhm.
like the hottest city you've been in Kansas.
Oh yeah. They say Atchison is the most haunted city in Kansas. No, Abilene puts it to shame. And we went there and just started kind of begging to check places out and met up with some of the they have Old Town Abilene and they have the Cowboy reenactors,
Mm-hmm.
and we started talking with some of them, and it's all in who you get to know
Mm-hmm.
to get into places. And we started talking with some of them, and they're like, oh yeah, this place is like, it's crazy. We have to stay here all weekend. We camp here. We have to
Wow.
stay here all weekend, and this is the stuff that goes on. And
Oh,
they
wow.
start telling us. And so we're like, okay, who do we need to talk to be able to come in here, have permission to come in here and investigate? And this one guy, Mike, he ended up on the team.
Oh wow.
He said, oh, I can take you to him. And he's like going along. He goes, Jeff. And he was the head of the museum, the historical museum.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked to him, and he said, well, you'll have to present to the board why you want to come in here and what you want to do, what you plan, what do you intend to do with the information. And so we had to prepare a presentation and go in and say what we wanted to do and why we wanted to do it and what we would do with the information, which pretty much we would give the information back to them, and
Mm-hmm.
they could use it as they wanted. And but we would also be privy to keep the information as well and use it in presentations.
Yeah.
And we waited, twiddled our thumbs and waited, and finally, like a month later, we got a yes. And so we were the first ones to investigate Abilene. And it led to multiple buildings, the old theater, which after we investigated it, ended up burning down.
Oh wow.
Then the restaurant, and then it burned down, and
Jeez.
and so I don't know if we were bringing bad juju in or what. I think a lot.
Wow.
The buildings were just so old,
Yeah.
that most of them were electrical fires. But we went to the library there and did just tons of digging and research, and talked to a lot of the reenactors because they had to do research in order to reenact their character. So we would talk to a lot of them to get information. And so we went out. We went, I think we went 6 times total to Old Town Abilene.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't count all the other places that we went in Abilene. We also paid for a board on the boardwalk and it has our team's name on it.
Oh,
And
cool.
the money went to help refurbish Old Town Abilene.
Nice.
And but we went out, and the first time we went out, we ended up having an earthquake.
Oh,
And
only.
that was a little strange.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's not usual for Kansas.
And one of our investigators works for the state, taking, and she does like works with the governor for emergency management, and all that. And she was like, she gets on the radio and she goes, "It's an earthquake. It's a post earthquake from the fracking down in Oklahoma. Everybody just chill out." And so we were fine. We kept going. We found this building, this blue building, and it had a hole in the side.
Oh.
So we were like, hole in the side means we can go in. So we climbed in, and then there was a huge hole in the floor with a board over it. So we traversed the board and went in, and there was all this wood that they had stacked in there that they were going to be using to refurbish the buildings. And my good friend Dan Terry was there. I don't know if you know him. He's known as Spook Stalker, and he's an author.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's a good friend of mine. And he was with us that night because he was just finishing a book, Too Ornery to Die, about cowboys and hauntings of cowboys and things like that. And I was like, "Lead the way, Dan. You go first, and this is always your idea, so go ahead." And I was right behind him, and I had several people behind me, and I had 2 newbies that night, and they were like, kind of shaking in their shoes. And we went in, and my son is 6'3", and he was there with us, and he was standing by a doorway, and this big black mass like ducks its head down and comes out of this doorway right by my son.
Ooh.
And as a mother, I wanted to run over there and, I don't know, try to beat on the thing or whatever.
Yeah.
But he just stood there and looked at it and watched it, and it darted towards all that wood that was stacked against the wall, and it pushed it all over.
Oh.
And
wow.
my two newbies, I lost them. They were gone. They were gone. They literally got in their car and left.
Wow.
They drove back to Topeka. They were gone. Never heard from them again. Had a couple others that started leaving. I'm like, no, this is what we do.
Right.
We go to things. We don't run from things. So everybody just settle down and start asking questions. See if you can get some EVPs and take pictures. See if you can get some pictures. And Dan always uses dowsing rods. And he was using his dowsing rods, and he was getting answers on his dowsing rods. And then we heard a loud thud back in that area where that thing had gone, and we went back there, and there was nothing back there. And So we left that building after that, but all the wood was knocked over.
Wow.
And we did get questioned by the museum curator about the wood being knocked over. And we told him what had happened. And he said, seriously? And we said, yeah, we did not do it. A black mass had come out and done that. And he said, okay, we're going to have to board up the side of that building until we can get in there and start remodeling. And I said, well, you better be careful. That's all I can say. And then another really good one we had was on another time we went is the old hotel which the hotel was actually a woman's house, and she had it built to look like the original hotel in Abilene. And so when she died, she left it to Old Town Abilene, and they brought it in, and they've been fixing it up. And we went up the stairs, an investigator and I, another female investigator and I, and we went into what would have been her bedroom. And all these, and I just found this out from the podcast I did last week, and it answered a lot of questions for me, but I told them about it, and all these twinkling lights, just like thousands of them, were just in that room going crazy. And we're like, what is this? I mean, because there was no way it was flashes from cameras or anything. It was, there was thousands of them. They were everywhere.
Weird.
And we're just like, what? And they were all around us. They were everywhere. And I get goosebumps just talking about it. And then we saw this black mass go in front of the window into the corner, and we kind of started walking that way, trying to communicate. We had our recorders on. And then this thing just rushes us and pushed both of us out the door and slammed the door.
Yeah,
And
I guess they didn't like you.
They didn't. I found out from one of the ladies on, it's Amok is the podcast I was on.
Okay.
She's into elementals, which is fairies and things like that. She said that those were fairies. And they can get into a mass and turn their lights, make it so they're not lit up. And they can literally push you out. And they can even knock you down if they don't want you in an area. And I just know Shannon and I ran down the stairs screaming. And we hit the front door screaming, ran across the grass, and hit the saloon that was headquarters, and didn't stop screaming until we hit there. So it was probably one of the scariest things I've experienced. And I've never been, I've done with our pastor, I had to go do.
Well, that's certainly not like Tinkerbell.
And I had to go do a blessing, and I got lifted up and held against a door.
Oh, wow.
And then got dropped. And
yikes.
But that was something I was expecting. This I wasn't expecting. And so that's probably the scariest thing that I've gone through. And but
Have you done
We've
any
done.
investigations in Lawrence at all? That's where we're from.
Um, trying to think if we've done Lawrence.
My mom said she's had a couple of experiences at the Eldridge Hotel.
Oh, we've been there. Yeah,
Yeah.
we've been to Eldridge, and then what used to be, it was a restaurant, and it was the bank
Uh,
Oh,
on the
Tellers.
court.
It became
Tellers,
Tellers, and then
tellers,
yeah,
and
yeah.
then
oh,
it's
okay.
something else. Yeah, we went in there, and we got some really good evidence in there,
Ooh.
and um, we have the lights, the pin lights that do the
Mhm.
prism, do the prism type thing,
Yeah.
and one of our investigators set his camera on a table,
Mm-hmm.
and then that pin light was beside it,
Mm-hmm.
and it was the stairs that go up to the second level
Yeah.
from the main level,
Yep.
and he set his camera to go off every like 10 seconds,
Mm-hmm.
and you can catch, we caught in several photos, we caught this black figure, come down the stairs, and
Wow.
because of the green lights, blacked out the
Yes.
green lights as it came down.
Wow.
And
Ooh.
yeah, and
That's
then he hung his camera again from the balcony, shooting at the front windows, and all
Yeah.
the blinds were closed, and we're like, there's nothing here, we're zipping through them, and then all of a sudden he goes, whoa, whoa, and we went back, and there was blinds that were like this, and in the
Oh.
next picture they were closed, and the first picture they were closed, second picture they were open, third picture they were closed.
Wow.
That's weird.
It was, yeah, it was like somebody was peeking out of the blinds.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've done that. We've done the cemetery there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I couldn't
Yeah.
think.
And we were so close to getting into the college, the Indian college.
Yeah.
We were so close to getting in there, and I don't know what happened. I wasn't in charge of it. And then one of my team members worked at KU,
Mm-hmm.
and he was working on getting us into KU.
Nice.
And he even into just one building, the building he worked in, and that, I don't know what happened with that fell through. But we have done a few things in Lawrence, and we've done, I'm trying to think what all we've done. My gosh, I didn't list them all. That's what I should have done last night.
Oh no,
No, that's okay.
We've done so many houses, people's
I'm sure.
houses all over the place, and businesses, a lot of businesses. We've done Jayhawk Towers here in
Okay.
Topeka. We're the only ones allowed in there to have done it, and we've done that. Got some crazy EVPs. We got a Help Me, and that's pretty
Ooh.
rare. That's pretty rare to get a Help Me.
Yeah.
The theater in Abilene, we got a woman screaming,
Ooh.
Oh.
and then right after that, my son and daughter-in-law, I was sitting at the table watching the monitors, and my son and daughter-in-law came up the stairs, and he's like, Riley's really freaked out. She's picking up on a lot of stuff down there. That's my daughter-in-law, and she's an empath, and same as me, but I wasn't out walking around, so I wasn't picking up on
Yeah.
stuff,
Right.
and I wasn't I wasn't kicking in my psychic stuff. I was keeping everything at bay.
Mm-hmm.
And he said she's really freaked out. There's some crazy stuff downstairs, and we heard this blood curdling scream.
Oh my God.
I had my recorder laying on the table going, so I caught it.
Wow.
And right after that, we hear sound like boots running up the stairs, and there was a side door that is an exit door, and you got to push the bar,
Mm-hmm.
to go out, and the door slammed open and then slammed shut.
Wow.
Oh.
And my son goes, "Uh-huh, Mom. Now tell me what."
Yeah.
And so I'm like, all teams to the auditorium right now.
Yeah.
And so I called everybody in there. Everybody was just terrified. There was just we had been led to believe that all that was there was this old man that walked around carrying his sweater,
Oh.
is what we had been told. And we were so misled
Mm-hmm.
by the person that let us in there. And we had things going on in the dressing rooms, dishes and glasses rattling in the kitchen downstairs, balls of light shooting around all over the stage.
Wow.
Shadow figures that would walk across the stage and disappear briefly, like they were going down the stage. And there was spiral staircases at each end of the stage so that they could come, and then the dressing rooms were underneath.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like they would go down and then go through and come back up and walk back across. And myself, and we have a state trooper on our team, and him and one of my other guys, the three of us went down to the spiral staircase and stood there, because we're clearly watching this from the seats. Let's see what we can see when we're standing right here.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're standing there, and everybody's going, they're there right now. But we never saw them.
Oh, wow.
Weird.
We never saw them come up the stairs and walk past us.
Yeah.
And
Felt a gust of wind or something.
it was, we didn't feel anything. We didn't see anything. We didn't smell anything. I mean, nothing. And they're like, they're there now. There goes another one. There goes another one. And so that one was probably one of the most creepy ones. And people were just starting to get really afraid because, like I said, we had been misled. We weren't prepared. We didn't go in prepared for what was there. And everybody took a vote that they wanted to leave. And I wasn't going to force them to stay.
Right.
Because they're all huddled in seats in the auditorium, And I said, okay, let's pack up and leave, and I will be in touch with the manager of the theater and talk to him about us. I said, do you guys want to come back? And they said, yes, because then we will be prepared. And I said, I'll talk to him then and see when we can come back. And so that's what I did. But we were in such a hurry to get out of there and packing up equipment. Somebody threw my 25-inch monitor into the big black tote
Oh,
with wheels on it that they broke my
Oh,
monitor.
wow.
I was so mad.
I'm
yeah.
sure.
So mad. And I got on our secret Facebook team page and I said, everybody that was at this investigation is coughing up money because there was no excuse for this.
Yeah.
It's, I understand you were scared, but nothing was after us. Nothing was going to harm us at the time. And, um, and everybody pitched in so that I could get a new monitor. But, we pretty much hauled it out of there. We didn't even turn the lights off. We didn't lock the front door.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't do anything. And the manager came by later because he thought we would still be there. And he said, I came in and the lights were still on and the door wasn't locked. And, he said, what went on? And I told him, I said, we were really misled as to how haunted this building really is. Oh, and there was a piano downstairs that played.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. And I said, this place is much more haunted than you believe it to be. And so I said, we would like to come back now that we're prepared, for what's here. And he did let us come back a couple of months later. But we've gotten pictures of ghost cowboys in Old Town Abilene. And I'm trying to see what else we've had. We've gotten the ghost cowboy was actually, it was like he was hitching his horse up in front of the saloon.
Oh,
And we got enough pictures in a row that you could see him take an image and you could see like the horse and his chaps and his hat and his arms holding the reins of the horse.
Oh, okay.
And then we got another one with a trail camera. I don't know.
Oh, wow.
Trail cameras can catch a lot of really good stuff.
Yeah, I've seen some of those.
He's standing at the end of the grassy area, and he's just got his head down like this and a cowboy hat on, and he's just standing there. And we got that one, and but we have that's the wood. I'm trying to go through everything. Do you want to know what equipment we use?
Actually, yeah, because I have some of it. I question whether it's because they come out with all these new things, and I'm like, so curious.
Is that something I should have or not? Yeah. There's several new things that have come out, and we don't get it because we think it's just running. Electricity is causing it to trigger. Yeah. So what we have is 2 DVR systems, 2 25-inch monitors, a total of 12 night vision cameras, and then one of our guys is a kind of fix-it, rig-it kind of guy, and he kind of went around to places and found tripods real cheap from garage sales and stuff like that.
Cool.
And he fixed them so that they had wood on top. And then our cameras, we keep a cordless drill charged and take it with us. and we just do 3 screws in our camera,
Okay.
and then we can adjust the camera, and it is on the tripod, and then there's no getting knocked over. It's not getting moved. If it gets moved and there's nobody there, we can clearly see there's nobody there, and it gets moved. Then it gets moved by something other than a human.
Right.
And so we have enough of those for all the cameras, and it takes my husband's Toyota Tacoma SR5 to haul all this equipment when we go somewhere. We have a FLIR camera.
Yeah, those are interesting.
You know what those are?
Yeah.
Yeah. We've gotten a lot of really good stuff on those. And that was, we were given such a huge donation from a client that we were able to buy that.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Yeah. And we have trigger props. I don't know if you use trigger props at all.
No, I'm not familiar.
Trigger props are great to put out balls if there's a kid.
Oh,
It's supposed to be a kid in the area, put balls out that they can roll,
okay.
or little cars that they can push.
Nice.
We hang bells on doors that are supposed to open and close. We'll hang bells on them, and then nobody's to go in or out of that door, and we'll put the bell on it. And then one of my investigators has professional trigger props, and one is a doll, and the other one is a carousel, a toy carousel.
Okay.
And if a spirit touches it, it sets it off. Kind of like when an EMF meter spikes out and it beeps. That's what it does. Yeah. And then we have some other things, and it's toys we've gotten like at Dollar Tree, like the balls that light up. We'll lay those out, and sometimes they'll just randomly light up.
Yeah, we have a dog toy that does that.
Yeah. And so trigger props are great things to put out.
Yeah.
And we have the grid light, and several of us have really good digital cameras that are into photography. We have body cameras now.
Oh, okay.
We just started doing that, and the first time we used them, I actually got a full body apparition when 2 girls were walking into a room. One girl went in, and my camera caught the apparition between the first girl and the second girl. And we found out it was a young man who had committed suicide at a high school that we were investigating.
Oh, wow.
And so because I showed the picture to the science teacher, and he said, yeah, that was Cody.
Oh, wow.
And but we have the body cameras, EMF meters. I have 4 digital recorders myself. Okay. All of us have multiple recorders. We have enough recorders so that we can put one with each camera that's out, and then also be able to carry one. So everybody has a lot of recorders. And flashlights, of course, we try not to use them unless we have to, because we prefer to get our eyes adjusted to the dark. Dowsing rods. We have a pastor that works with the team because we have had 2 demonic cases over the years.
Okay.
Um, and several of us are ordained, so we're able to go help him with those cases. Um, and so I have 2 full sets of equipment so that 2 teams can go to 2 investigations on the same night. And we carry sage for smudging. And we have an ionizer, which I'm sure you probably don't know what that is.
No.
It's this big thing. It's on a battery deal that you charge, and it's round. It comes up and it goes out like this, and it's round on each end. And you plug it in, and it puts out this funky little smell. But what it does is it keeps all the dust down. It puts out negative. It puts out negative ions.
Yeah.
Negative charged ions to keep all the dust down. And but it also is, in theory, supposedly supposed to help bring spirits forward.
Okay.
But we haven't had any luck with that. We just use it to keep the dust down so we don't have dust balls flying on our cameras.
Right.
And that's the best thing of all. And then my service dog that also doubles as an investigation dog too.
That's cool.
And my number 1 rule is nobody goes anywhere alone, not even to the bathroom, because I did that and I got locked in the bathroom in Illinois. Had to crawl under the stall door. Then the doorknob was locked. And it wasn't locked. There was like no way for it to be locked.
Right.
And it was at the spa. I can't remember the name of it. The spa, the Mineral Springs and Spa.
Okay.
In Illinois. Yeah. That's a crazy place. If you've never been to that, that's a good one. And so I ran down the hallway and told Dan Terry, I said, dang you, why'd you tell me to go to that bathroom? And I went alone and you didn't say anything. When that's my rule, is not to go anywhere alone. But also the biggest reasons not to go alone is for not only for safety, but if something would happen, you want somebody there to back up your experience.
Right.
You want 2 people to say, yes, we saw this, or yes, this happened, or yes, we heard this. And, you've got more than one person saying it. And so that's my rules and my besides me being a huge Supernatural fan, because when I was listening to the podcast last night, you had somebody on that said they were supernatural. They'd go somewhere with Dean with Jensen Ackles. Yeah. And my screensaver says, people I get, demons are crazy, people I get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So,
but that was I remember Jody asking that question.
Yeah.
About demons?
I had to do it. No, about like who would you be in a movie with if you were?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. She said Jensen Ackles.
You said Dean Winchester, I think, right?
Yeah.
Well, Jensen Ackles, who plays Dean.
That's
And
what I
then,
mean.
and then Debbie goes, "Ooh, yeah, Dean."
He's a cutie patootie.
Jared Padalecki is so beyond sweet. He is the sweetest guy in the world.
Aww.
He is so sweet. I've met all of them but Ruth Connell.
Okay.
And I want to meet her so bad. But chances of that are next to nothing now that the show's over and I crawled in bed and rarely get out anymore. But
yeah. I know the feeling.
I just I've been so depressed since it's been over, but and Old Town Abilene, this was interesting too. The reenactors told us that light balls, these balls of light,
Oh wow.
Mm-hmm.
fly around in the field all night long, and they're all different colors.
Oh, it sounds pretty.
They're not just white. They're like blue and red and yellow and white, and
that sounds so pretty.
Float around, and they've even had them come in their tents.
Oh my God!
And go back out. Yeah,
check them out.
That seems like something I would think of a fairy.
Yeah,
because it makes me think of Tinkerbell, but I mean they're not very like Tinkerbell.
Yeah, and when we had the incident in the room with all the lights,
mm-hmm.
and it was the same thing because they weren't all white lights. They were different colored lights.
Mm-hmm.
And I found out those were fairies.
Yeah, but not nice.
So yeah, you just. I keep learning more and more. I've done this since, 2012, 2011.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
And
that's a long time.
I'm still learning. I keep learning. And and I saw that you had I want to listen to your podcast on shadow people, because I don't know what it said. I haven't listened to it, but I know shadow figures aren't a bad thing. It's just how much energy that entity can produce at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of people, that's what we get calls for. There's a black figure in my house. Okay, it's probably a family member or somebody that was close to you, and they just can't manifest any more energy for you to see them.
Mm-hmm.
And now, one big mistake I made, and I tell my people not to do this, and I did it, shame on me, is not to take things from haunted locations.
Right.
No, that's true.
We went to the Missouri State Penitentiary with Dan Terry, and we got to be able to be locked in all night. And until 5 the next morning. We got in at 8 or 10, I can't remember, I think 8. We went in at 8, and we would be unlocked. They would unlock the doors and let us out at 5 the next morning. And this was prior to where now anybody can go do it. So this was before that.
Okay.
And so he had gotten us in there with him, and we took all of our equipment in and everything and went. And for me, having some psychic abilities, it was just blowing my mind away. I almost couldn't take it. And but I took a piece of the brick that had fell off out front,
Yeah.
and put it in the back of my car. And some of the other people did too. And I brought it home and I put it up in my entertainment center.
Mm-hmm.
And next thing I knew, I used to work remote from home.
Mm-hmm.
I did it for 19 years. And I start hearing boot steps and keys jingling down my hallway.
Oh, like a jailer.
And yeah.
Yeah.
And I have a gun, I carry a gun, and I picked my gun up and I kind of went around the corner and, I was like, where's a mirror when you need one,
Yeah.
And my dogs weren't reacting. I had 3 boxers. They weren't reacting to anything. They were laying here on the floor asleep, piled on top of each other. And so I'm like, okay, the dogs aren't reacting. So that could be good or it could be bad.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked down the hall real quick, nothing. And the boot sounds had just stopped. And every single day at the same time, it would happen.
Wow.
And so I called Devin, my case manager, and I told her, and she goes, did you bring a piece of the rock home from Missouri State Penitentiary? And I go, yeah. She goes, throw that out. Get it out of your house right now.
Yeah.
So I took it and I threw it in the trash, and I've not had a problem ever since. So that's so bringing things home from haunted locations, don't do it. Definitely don't do it.
Yeah. There's too much possibility of something being attached.
Yeah. And if it's in a haunted location like it was, like Missouri State Penitentiary was, I mean, the information we found out there and that they told us, I mean, I can't even go into detail. You wouldn't even be able to post this because there might be kids listening. But, and I got several things psychically. I got multiple things, and they told me that they had professional psychics in there.
Mm-hmm.
And the one from the TV show that has the cop.
Oh.
And they were there.
Okay.
They had been there. Yeah. And they said that I actually got more information than she did. And that I was more spot on than her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
that didn't surprise me.
Yeah, one of the most crazy things though was this was funny, is they had me, when the one guy in the front was telling the history of the area we were in, I would have to cover my ears, and then one of the ladies that was with him, she would put her hands over my hands, and so that I couldn't hear any of the history, because they were trying to see if I would pick up on anything. And we were in getting ready to go. We were going down the psychiatric ward, and I had a couple of my friends beside me, and I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Did one of you guys let it? I mean, I said it really stinks.
Yeah.
And they're like, what? I said, it stinks. It smells like BM. I said, it really stinks bad. You don't smell that? And they're like, we don't smell a thing, Brenda. And I got past this one cell and the sound was gone.
Wow.
And or the smell, not the sound. The smell was gone.
Yeah.
And so the lady went up and told him what had happened.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, okay, we're going to back up to this cell. And I was like, can we not, please?
Right? Wants to smell it.
And is there a sewer leak or, what's going on back here? And he said this was one of our inmates that would let his thumbnail grow out really, really long. And he would cut his stomach open.
Oh.
Oh.
And he would take his feces and put it in his stomach so that he would get an infection.
Ugh.
And he would have to go to the hospital and he would go, vacation!
Yeah.
But the other thing he did with it was he took it and he would let it dry, somewhat dry, and he would build a little houses and people, and he would steal ketchup and mustard packets from the cafeteria and use it as paint on them, and they were under his bed, and that's what I was smelling. Yeah, that's what I was smelling. Yep, nobody else smelled it but me.
Of course.
I'm like, okay, good enough for me. I'm moving on.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Ugh.
so it was. Yeah. I didn't dare go down to the gas chamber.
Ooh.
I couldn't handle that. That was above and beyond what I could have taken.
I'm sure.
I didn't go down there. But it was.
I wouldn't either.
It was interesting. I was in building A with one of the guys. He was kind of babysitting me because I had torn my Achilles tendon.
Oh.
And I was in a boot, and so I couldn't do all the walking all over the place that they were doing. And I was sitting in this building A, which was minimum security, and they had to work their way up. It was work detail, and they had to work their way up to it so that they had more freedoms and things like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, who came in from the back door that's standing down there by those stairs?
Yeah.
And the guy goes, there's no back door.
Ew.
And I said, well, who's standing down by those stairs? And he goes, I don't see anybody.
Ooh.
And I said, he's standing right there.
Yeah.
You can't see him? He goes, what's he look like? And I described him, and I forgot who he said he was, and he goes, he didn't like me. This guy was actually a guard there before the penitentiary closed.
Oh.
Oh, wow.
That was with me. And so we walked down there, and as we were walking, the guy just vanished. And then we went into a cell, and he said, we're going to walk past these cells, and I want you to see what you feel at which one.
Yeah.
And we got to like the fourth cell, and I went in there and I said, this guy didn't like women. He didn't like women. He
Oh,
abused them
wow.
and everything. And I was sitting on the cot, and all of a sudden, across my back, I could just feel scratches go across my back, and it burned
Ooh,
really bad.
yuck.
And I just went, I didn't scream really loud, but I just
Mm-hmm.
kind of went, oh,
Mm-hmm.
and he called their head guy down, and I got out of there, and
Sure.
he had two of my girls on my team, two of my ladies, take me into another um, cell that had a curtain
Mm-hmm.
and raised my shirt up, and they took pictures, and I had 4 claw marks go all the way across my back from the bottom of my back all the way up to my shoulder,
Yeah.
and there was no way I could have done it
Nope.
at all. So, and he saw me not he saw me. I didn't ever do it. So, um, but that's some of the stuff that I've
Wow.
gone through,
You've
and
had, yeah, you've had quite a lot.
that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah. Well, we'll definitely have to have you on to share more of these stories because I know you have more.
Yeah, have a lot more. I just have to type them. I need to write them up and have time to write them up and get them in order. And I've started writing a book,
Yeah, I was gonna
and
say
Oh.
you have stuff
yeah,
for a book.
I have
Wow.
enough for a book, so I've started writing a book, and because we've just got too much,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
I wish I could have sent EVPs to you. That would have been great for you to be able
Yeah.
to play EVPs. So,
Definitely.
um, and because that's the meat of it, is the
Mm-hmm.
EVPs. And but anyway, that's our equipment. That's my story, and part of it anyway.
Right. And I know that and this part's a little more ongoing, but you had talked about you
What
had
happened?
listened to the
She froze.
episode
She
A
froze?
Tale of
She
Oh
Two
froze.
no.
Hauntings.
Now you're frozen.
No, I'm not frozen.
No, you're not frozen. You're back. Okay. There
There she
she's
is.
moving.
Okay.
She's moving
She's back.
now.
Yeah, I'm
Okay,
here.
there you are.
Yeah, this is because I'm using my laptop. Um, I know that you had listened to A Tale of Two Hauntings, and
Yes,
you had heard some EVPs on there,
multiple EVPs. Yes.
which kind of validates what we were hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a male,
Okay.
Hmm.
definitely a male. Um, I'm gonna listen to it again with my headphones on. I gotta find my Beats, my
Okay.
Dr. Dre Beats headphones, because they're more comfortable than these, and they're noise canceling, and they don't have a microphone on them. Um, but I'm gonna use my Beats and um, listen to it, and um, I'm trying to figure out a way. If you can't send me the file,
I can probably send you the file
okay,
because I think
yeah, because if you can send me the file, then I can run it through Audacity,
yeah.
and then I can clip those EVPs out and enhance them, and I could even slow them down so that we can make them out a little
Yeah.
more. Yeah,
Yeah, we should have a whole show on that, I think. I think that'd be a great
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
yeah. So I can do that with Audacity and that's all we've ever used is Audacity, so I'm pretty
That's
quick with it.
Yeah, that's what I haven't quite fully figured out yet. That's what my husband wants me to be using.
Is Audacity.
Yeah.
It's once you figure it out, it's it's easy.
Mm-hmm.
Once
Mm-hmm.
you figure out once you figure out how to import and export your file,
Mm-hmm.
and you import your file into Audacity, and then you can pretty much, you really don't even have to look at it, because you can tell what a human voice is
Mm-hmm.
in the range that a human voice is, and then you can tell where a non-human voice is.
Okay.
And that's where you want to focus, is where that non-human voice is.
Right.
So how is it that you can tell? I don't know how to look at that. So
You just have to learn. You'll learn.
Yeah.
You learn by the way the waves are
Mm-hmm.
on Audacity, by the way the waves are. The human voices are up and down.
That's what I was gonna
a
say. They're
lot.
broader.
They're broader, and then the non-human are smaller,
Okay.
and but they may be loud,
Mm-hmm.
even though they're not broader. They may be loud, but you can tell because wish I could write on my computer screen. You can tell because it'll go along, and this will be the human voice, and then it'll go along, and then it'll be a little squiggly, and that'll be the non-human voice.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that's what I was
sense?
thinking.
Yeah. And then it'll go back to human voice. Yeah. So that's how it works. And then you go in and you save that file,
Mm-hmm.
and then you go in and you clip out your non-human, your EVP, and you save it separately, and you keep that file in your Audacity. You keep it open because you've got more to clip out, and you go to the next. So you just work your way down. Yeah, you just work your way down.
Yeah. And
So
you it sounds like though you've had years of listening, so you know kind of also how to differentiate between just excess background noise and what's
I have. It's kind of weird. I have hearing loss
Mm-hmm.
in my right ear, and Devin, that I told you about, my case manager, her husband has hearing loss in his right ear. He and I both are highly sensitive to EMF, but we both are able to pick up on the slightest EVP that there is. We can listen to them, and because we've had people. What drives me crazy is a team member that does not listen to the recorder. All they do is burn it to a CD and bring it over to my house and hand it to me, and then want me to listen to it. You know, when they're supposed to be listening and learning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so, and I had one do it, and she wrote all the EVPs down that she supposedly had. 90% of them were people talking in the background. And then I get this little boy, and she was sitting at the piano, and she played a key on the piano, and she goes, "Wouldn't it be cool if we played Twinkle Twinkle Little Star and they sang?" And she hit the key on the piano, and this little boy goes, "Twinkle."
Oh.
She missed it.
No.
She missed it.
Funny.
Yeah, she missed it. And I'm like, how can you miss that?
Yeah.
One of our best Class A EVPs in the entire world, and she missed it.
Yeah.
And I don't understand it. And, but we have a lot, most of our EVPs are Class A.
Uh-huh.
We have some Bs. I can't say that we have any Cs. We had a house in pot when we did. Found out it was an engineer from Burlington, Northern Santa Fe, and it was what was it, the 1952 flood? I think.
I don't know if I'm familiar with that one.
And all of downtown Topeka was flooded, and Potwin and everything, and he had a flatboat, and he took sheriff's deputies out on the flatboat, and I did all this research at the Historical Society museum, or their library. That's how I found all this out, and I did copies of the microfiche.
Oh yeah,
The microfilm, yeah. And I keep all that stuff. I literally still have an old-fashioned 4-drawer file cabinet in here that I keep all of our case files and everything in. I don't trust electronics when it comes to all of that stuff. So
yeah.
But he took sheriff deputies out to rescue people, and then the water was getting really, really rapid, and he was going to make one more trip, and they said, no, don't go. It's too dangerous. Well, one deputy went with him, and they hit a tree that came flying through the water. They hit a tree, overturned the flatboat, it killed him. And and the deputy got his way to the bank, and but we investigated his house because the people that were living in it were saying, this place is haunted, and we think this is who is haunting it. And so we went in there, and I had a recorder going in downstairs, and I sent 2 of my former female investigators down the stairs, and they were just sitting there going, I'm so tired. I went shopping today, and they weren't making any attempt to make communication, EVP, nothing. And which maybe it was a good thing, because all of a sudden here's this real deep, hey.
Oh.
Weird.
That was on the recorder. Yeah. So it was almost like he was trying to get their attention.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's always been a really good one. And we've got one. Have you heard of Matroke Castle?
No.
Here in Topeka?
Nope.
Long history about it, but I won't go into that now. But we went to investigate it. We were the only ones to ever investigate there as well. And 2 of my guys who like to scare me were hiding upstairs, and they had their recorders laying on the floor, and they were waiting for me to come up, because I always do a walkthrough, and we decide where we're going to put cameras and and all that stuff. And they were hiding up there, and but I heard them. They were giggling. They were giggling, so I knew they were up there. And I went up and I said, well, you guys aren't going to scare me because you're giggling. I heard you already. And we afterwards listening to the EVPs, and Marshall's EVP had, which was on the floor right in front of him, he was sitting cross-legged on the floor, had an EVP that said, men, come up here.
Oh.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's kind of creepy.
It was.
Yep.
It was very creepy. And it was, you could hear it clear as day. So
Wow.
we've got some good ones.
Yeah.
That's why I said I wish we could send EVPs in for you
I
to
know.
play.
There probably is a way. I just don't have to figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
Other than
EVPs and pictures.
right. I know, like, we've uploaded video, but it had to be separate from the actual podcast.
Yeah. But EVPs would be great.
Mm-hmm.
We've got some good ones. We've got some really good ones. And, but, yeah, that's the gist for me, I guess. So.
Well, yeah, we will definitely have you back on if you are willing.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, send me the
Yes.
file, and I will go through that and find the EVPs in it and clip them, and I'll email them to you. And,
Okay.
Then you could you would probably be able to play them.
Probably. I'm thinking
on air. You should be able to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
should be able to play them.
I think we could probably because I can upload media. So that means yes, we can do this.
Could.
Duh.
You can upload media. So you can upload EVPs and all of that. So yeah. So
you'll have to have you back on with EVPs.
Yes. Next time
an EVP session.
Yes.
Yeah. I'll
upload my
EVPs.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll upload all of our good EVPs and listen to those and let people hear those.
Yeah, because people love that.
That's what people want to hear.
Yes.
They want to hear.
Yeah,
they want to hear those. They don't want to hear that ghost hunter garbage of. Now this is what they said.
Yes.
That's just that. I used to love ghost hunters before I started investigating, and then I saw at the bottom one night after the show. At the end of the show, I watched it all the way through the credits, and then at the bottom of the screen it said, "For entertainment purposes only."
Well, they have to say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
And I was
it
like,
it doesn't necessarily mean that they haven't seen something paranormal. That's what they have to say. They do that on YouTube too.
Yeah. But I do know.
And I was like,
yeah,
that kind of crushed my world.
I remember though when they very first started, and I liked it better.
Yes.
I thought it was more realistic.
Yes. And when they first started, that's what we base our investigations off, the way they first started. That's how we investigate.
Because they weren't necessarily finding ghosts everywhere. They were finding, hey, this is what's probably causing this. And it was a logical explanation.
Yep. And that's what we do. There's lots of times we haven't found ghosts.
Yeah.
We investigated a lot of places in Wamego, Kansas.
Oh, yeah.
And the library, they were talking about how haunted the library was. And we went in there, and I had my son go with me, my oldest son, and he is trained in HAVVAC. And they had the big round external pipes running through the building. And so he's just standing there looking, watching them, and it was wintertime.
Mm-hmm.
So the heat would come on, and they would expand
Yeah.
and crackle, and then the heat would go off, and they would go in, and they would crackle. And this was their complaint.
Oh.
This was that they were hearing these crackling noises, and it was their heat.
Yeah.
And then in the summer, it was their air conditioning doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, but I walked by him, and he's just standing there going, and he's so tall, he could reach up and touch the thing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And he goes, look, I can push in on it. It's really cheap stuff.
Yeah.
And he said, this is their haunting.
Yeah.
And because we found nothing there, we didn't get any EVPs, we got no pictures, no EMFs, nothing, not a single solitary thing. So,
Yeah.
And we explained it to him that it was the air, and the girl got really mad, her and her husband, and they got up and walked out of the presentation that we were giving them.
Oh, whatever.
In the library. So, yeah. They got up and went to the door, and they said, you can leave. Get your stuff, you can leave.
They were so mad that you didn't find ghosts.
That we didn't find anything. Because they were so sure it was haunted. And all I can give you is my evidence.
Right.
Right.
Sorry, I can't make stuff up.
And
Right.
So
coming from my experience, be glad it's not, because sometimes you don't want that.
You don't want it. Exactly.
No.
Not at all. I had enough of that boot going up and down my hallway. Yeah. And I've had experiences since I think I was 3. I started having tea parties with this little boy named Bradley. And one day my mom said, who are you having tea party with? And I said, Bradley. And she said, what? And I said, Bradley. And she told my dad when he got home from the base, and they had never told us, and she still didn't tell me till I was about 8, that I had a brother that died before I was born.
Oh, wow.
And his name was Bradley.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was having tea parties with him and playing with him.
Yeah. Kids.
So, and then when I was 10, we had moved to a new house, and I had just gotten up and gone to the bathroom, so I know I was awake. And this is back when you could sleep with your windows open and sleep with your head by the window,
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And it was safe to do that.
Yeah.
And I had just gotten back in bed, and I was just getting comfortable, and I got these chills, like I'm getting up my back now. I got these chills all over me, and I could like hear something coming in my room, and I kind of cut my eyes up, and it was just this big black figure. And it just stood over me.
Ooh.
It felt like forever. It stood over me forever, it felt like. And I just tried not to breathe very deep. And you know, when you're that scared, you're trying not to breathe.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to keep my eyes closed, and so I would barely open them to see if it was still there, and it'd still be there. And then finally I opened them, and it was lurking out my room, and went through our into the family room, and I laid there, and I thought, okay, 1, 2, 3, run to daddy.
Yeah.
So I ran in my mom and dad's room, and I said, daddy, 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 daddy. And my brother's room, the door was closed, so I know it wasn't him. And he was snoring. I could hear him snoring in there. And my dad grabbed his gun out of the drawer and went through the house, and all the windows were locked, all the doors were locked, everything.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, you were just dreaming. I said, no, I wasn't. I had just gone to the bathroom. And I said I wasn't dreaming. So,
Sounds familiar.
yeah.
A little, not entirely, but a little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
We'll have to have you on. We need a whole discussion. We need a whole show about stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need to have you back on
Definitely.
for that.
Yeah. I'll be happy to be back on.
Yeah,
Just
good.
let me know
Yay.
when. Yeah. Just let me know when.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
And I definitely need that file so I can.
yes,
Yeah.
Break down
I
those
will.
EVPs.
I will grab that after this. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Well, thank you. Thank you for
Thank
being
you so
on.
much.
And I think, yeah, we'll definitely have you on again for sure.
Okay. Sounds good. I had a good time.
Yeah.
We did too.
Yeah.